This is Marty Stewart with SeminarSecrets.com. You can hear the complete version of this big seminar interview by going to www.SeminarSecrets.com.
My name is Armand, Morin, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the conference call this evening. Tonight's call is a special Big Seminar Preview Series call with Alex Mandossian, and Alex, again, is going to give you some fantastic information. Prior to getting involved on the call itself, I just want to give my quick 2-minute commercial, as I just did a moment ago. The Big Seminar, as many people have known, it's a tremendous event that we put together the top marketers, not just in the country, but literally in the world on internet marketing. And what they're going to do is they basically teach you for 3 days strategies, techniques that you can take and apply to your business to make your business succeed. It's a very simple step-by-step process. The problem is that most people don't know where to begin. And what we do at the Big Seminar is actually give you the foundation, give you the techniques, give you the strategies, and allow you to learn from people that are successfully done it already. There is no learning curve. They tell you what works and how you can do it and what you can do to do it immediately. And that's what we do at the Big Seminar. It's a 3-day event. We're holding it in San Francisco, California, the beautiful Marriott Hotel right on the bay in San Francisco. And we're going to have a tremendous time with 3 full days. To find out all the information about it, go to BigSeminar.com. Click on the link that the person that referred you to this call. They'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you have any questions, you can definitely contact us at support@BigSeminar.com. And that's my 2-minute commercial. And now we're going to get on with the call with some tremendous information from Alex Mandossian. So the first thing I want to do is actually give you a little background information on Alex. And Alex, as many people know, has been marketing on the internet for quite some time. But what he's done and what he's most famous for is conversion techniques. Now, the difference with Alex is that he has a different background than many of the internet marketers that you normally encounter. In fact, he has a direct marketing background. In fact, his background itself, he's worked with companies like OneShoppingCart.com, ActionPlan.com, AdNet International, some very big infomercial companies, and he works with infomercials on QVC, the Home Shopping Network, Retail Catalog Space, Parade Magazine, USA Today Weekend. He also has an infomercial background. He's developed some of the top infomercials and worked on them with companies like the Thigh Master with Suzanne Summers, the Ronco Food Dehydrator, Players Club International, if everybody remembers that, with Telly Savalas, the Topsy Tail. I think we've all seen that on television as well, too. The Contour Pillow, Ray Stevens comedy video. The list goes on and on. Anthony Robbins. Alex has worked with a tremendous amount of people. He's taken what he's learned offline and he's brought it online, and the strategies and techniques have never failed to produce profits for not only himself, but for his clients as well. Now, what I've done is I've invited Alex to come onto this call today and share with you one simple strategy that he won't have time to go over at the seminar, and at least not in detail. In fact, tonight, I've asked him to go into this strategy, talk about it, explain to you how it generated for him over $250 million.
I wish, Armand, I wish.
$250,000, $250,000 in the last 13 months with this one strategy alone. So with that, Alex, I want to welcome you to the call tonight.
Thanks, Armand. It's interesting. You said something. For most people, they don't know where to begin, either coming online or going to the Big Seminar or typically going to most seminars. And that's a theme for tonight because I'm going to talk about a strategy, as you mentioned, that's generated a lot of money for me. I think it's going to double that for the next 12 to 13 months. And it's because I know where to begin. And whether you have an existing business and you don't know where to begin with what to do with your existing list, believe me, there's always more cash in that list to suck out of there. And doing it not abrasively, but doing it permission-based. If you're just starting, there's always a place to begin with a JV deal or by building your own list. And it comes down by one thing, and that is by asking. And many people on this call have heard of the Ask campaign. I talked about it recently at a conference that Armand, you were at as well, the System Conference in Cleveland. What I want to talk about today is the story behind the Ask campaign, because it gives us so many different strategies. if you have 10 strategies to generate 10 customers, then if you lose one of those strategies, or let's say you forget about them, you have selective amnesia, or all of a sudden that strategy becomes obsolete, like spamming is an obsolete strategy these days. Maybe a pop-up is going to become obsolete very, very soon with all the pop-up blockers. Well, if you lose one strategy and you have 10, and you're getting 10 customers, well, you got 90% performance still. You got 9 customers, and that's called syndicating your risk. But if you're just looking for that one strategy and you got 10 customers, then you're losing 100% of your customers because you lose one big idea because it no longer becomes viable, it's obsolete, then you lose all of them. And so what I'd like to urge everyone to do tonight is think of all the different strategies and tactics that this one concept can bring to your business, whether you're a startup, whether you're knee-deep in debt and can't see a way out, whether you're making 6 or 7 figures online. In fact, this strategy is even more successful if you do have a list. If you don't have a list, you can approach someone with a list and joint venture with them and look like a hero, put a feather in your cap, and get 50% of the proceeds, as I have, because I don't have a list. I have 5,200 people on my list right now. And when I started this, I had less than 4,000 people on my list. Okay? So this concept is called the Ask Campaign, and here's the story. I've never told it publicly. Here's the story. I live in a place called Morin County. It's just north of San Francisco, over the Golden Gate Bridge. I have a buddy, his name is Scott. He owns a company called Athleta.com. It sells sports gear and clothes and shoes to mostly women. It's targeted towards women and health trainers and people like that. It's a very nichified business, multi-million-dollar business. He's a high school buddy. We used to meet once a month at Izzy's Steakhouse. Right by Izzy's Steakhouse, there's a bookstore. And in that same parking lot, one Thursday evening, and fourth Thursday of every month we used to meet, I drive into the parking lot. It is packed. I mean, absolutely packed. I can't find a parking space. What's going on? I mean, I've never seen this before. And it looks like there's this horde of people around the bookstore, and I couldn't understand what it was. And this particular bookstore, which is in Corte Madera, again in Marin County, is a bookstore that Jay Levinson had helped build their sales for. So it was just ironic. I thought, what is Jay up to now? That's the first thing I thought of. Well, I couldn't find parking, so I went to a neighboring area, and I parked maybe a quarter mile away. I mean, it was crazy. I used to live in Pasadena where the Rose Parade is, and it just reminded me, man, you really got to park far away from your destination just to get home. And this is what it was like. So I'm walking. I'm kind of swearing to myself because I'm late now, and I'm going to go see Scott. And I peer into this bookstore, and there's about 500 people packing like sardines, and there's like another 100 outside, and there's a PA system, and it's Al Gore and Tipper Gore, and Al is pitching a book. So basically, he's on tour. I don't know who published it, but maybe the distributor Ingram or somebody had taken him on tour. You know, they pay him for that. It's very expensive, and he just signs books. And maybe he sold 800 books or 1,000 books that night and got writer's cramp as a result of it. But was it really worth it? I mean, the VP, the former vice president of the United States, he's had enough traveling. He went to enough funerals because that's what vice presidents do. And now he's going to bookstores and signing books to pitch his book because he lost the race to the presidency to George W. Bush. So that's what he's doing. And so forget about any political affiliation because I'm not going to share, what I am. But I felt sorry for the man because I felt that, why should this guy be doing it? And I bet other authors who are of his stature do the same thing. So on the drive home, I thought of virtual book tour. What if Al Gore had a teleseminar, could pack 3,000 people on that call, and whoever was the publisher, okay, let's say Simon & Schuster, they sponsor the call, and the teleseminar costs $49. Now, mind you, the book is maybe $25 in hardcover. The first 500 people who get on that call get a hand-signed book from Al Gore. What does that mean? He signs 500 less books than he did at that one particular bookstore. He's got 3,000 people on the call at $49, maybe $59. And for 1 hour, he talks about his favorite passages in the book, why he wrote the book, how the story came to be, because if this has any interest to you right now, what I'm telling you, if you know about the Ask campaigns and what I've done And if you've been involved in an Ask campaign with me, maybe you've never heard this story before. It's interesting, where the genesis of the whole idea came from. So virtual book signings, and I thought, what a great idea. Man, for the cost of the teleseminar, you get to hear the author. Who's ever done that? If you're the first 500, there's the action device. I get a hand-signed book from Gore, and I can listen to this in my boxer shorts, and Gore can do it in his pajamas from the comfort of his home. All right? That was the idea. So I went to Amazon. I tried to get a hold of Stephen King's publicist, and I tried to get over all these authors to do these virtual book signings. And after 6 months of bashing my head up against the wall, it flopped. You know the feeling, Armand?
I know exactly how you feel.
A piece of software doesn't work. You try to get a high-ticket person or high-profile person in on the deal, and it doesn't work. I tried to put something together with Tony Robbins. Even though Anthony Robbins and Associates is a client, it's tough to nail him down because he's a moving target. On a teleconference, if someone is 2 minutes late, it's like an eternity. So that was my biggest stress and worry. And getting these people on these calls were difficult. So I aborted the virtual book signing process. Okay, now that's still a viable idea, and I'm going to do it, but not with high-profile artists and high-profile authors. And anyone on this call can do a virtual book signing if they've written a book themselves, or if they've written an ebook themselves. They can have a hardcover, and you have a great excuse to have a teleconference, do a hand-signed book, and then send it to anyone who's listening. And for the charge of the call, the book is also included. What a great bonus. You with me so far, Armand?
I am with you.
Okay.
Sounds like a good
now, is
idea
that
to
clear
me.
the way that thing started? I mean, does that make sense? Because I'm going to go into where it's evolved to now.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think for everyone listening that, you have a target audience that are listening to us on a topic that they're interested in.
Right. And the whole thing started with the problem of me not finding a parking spot. and I was frustrated, and I didn't want that to ever happen again at that particular bookstore. Okay. So I bashed my head against the wall. I couldn't put these deals together because it just took too much time. And, time is money with my type of business, which is a coaching and consulting business, versus a information publishing or software business like you have, Armand. You make more money than me because you make money while you sleep, and I'm exchanging dollars for time. In the process of changing that, but the Ask campaign started with a virtual book signing. So the next idea was, you know what? Why don't I go to people like, people I know, Ted Sayuba, Frank Kern, Stephen Pierce, Frank Guerin, Bob Silber, Declan Dunn, Jay Levinson, Paul Hartunian, Marty Foley. Why don't I go to these people whom I know? And why don't I see if they wouldn't mind doing a teleseminar? Because, they have a database, right? And why don't we do what's called, and at that point, we called it an Ask campaign. I called it an Ask campaign. Now, I'll tell you what really took me over the top and how I took the frustration of the virtual book signing and turned it into an Ask campaign, because one person deserves the credit for this, and his name is Jonathan Mizell, who's another speaker at the conference and a good friend of mine and the JV partner. I don't know how long ago, maybe a year and a half ago at this point, we had what was called the marketing brain dump. Have you heard of that? marketingbraindump.com, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I bought it.
And you bought it. I think you got the resale rights, too.
I did.
So that was a free call to all our customers, and we asked them what they wanted to hear. Just our customers, not our database. And that was 2.5-hour calls. And to this day, we recorded it, we transcribed it, and you can find it at marketingbraindump.com. That was the missing piece for me to put the virtual book signing and the Ask model together, because I noticed the power of what a teleseminar can do, of what asking a constituency can do, and how you have no guesswork in developing a product because you're just giving them what they want to hear. And this is the concept of lateral thinking. And if you want to get really good at this, read a book by Edward de Bono, D-E-B-O-N-O. And the name of the book, you may have it, it's called Lateral Thinking, Creativity Step by Step. You can get it at Amazon.com. Again, Lateral Thinking, Creativity Step by Step. And the best example of this, the most famous story, is Henry Ford, who walks into a meatpacking plant in Chicago. There's 2,000 car manufacturers. The car was invented by Gottlieb Daimler in in Germany, and Ford was one of 2,000 people, and the problem was they'd keep a car stationary. Everyone would come in, and they'd do their own part. They'd add a wheel, they'd add a fender, they'd add a stick shift, they'd add a roof, and then it took forever to create a car, and there was no economies of scale. Ford walks into a meatpacking plant, and there was an existing idea there that was there for a long time. It was called the assembly line, and these carcasses would go down this assembly line, and each butcher would take off the shank and another part of the cow, and everything was very, very efficient. So he took that idea back to Ford. He created the assembly line. The cars were now moving. All the workers were stationary. They put on their hubcap, and that's all the guy did all day. And he made it very, very affordable for someone to buy a Model T as long as it came in black, because that was the only color it was offered. And he paid a $5 a day wage, which was the most at that time. And he created or helped create the middle class because he was a lateral thinker. He took an existing idea, he put it together with another idea, and all of a sudden the middle class was born. And lateral thinking is where this Ask campaign came from. Thank you, Jonathan Mizell, and thank you, the frustration of Al Gore. So my first Ask campaign I did was with a client, and they did real estate investing, and they'd never had a teleconference before. They had a huge list. So we sent out all the questions, and the question was this, and write this down, because this is the question you can ask your constituents, your database, your customers, your prospects, or you can go to an existing colleague that you have and say, hey, you have a database of 10,000. Let's ask them this question. So here's the question. There's an email that goes out and says, listen, my name is Alex Mandossian, and I'm a conversion strategist, and I'm wondering if you cornered me for 5 minutes at a seminar, or if you had me on the phone, what's the single most important question you'd ask me about converting more website traffic into cash? Now, if you want to see that, you go to AskAlexMandossian.com, and you'll see the website there. So basically, what's your single most important question you have about, and then the topic. In this case, it was, what's your single most important question about real estate investing? We got 1,400 questions. We had to put a halt to it because there were too many questions coming in, and it was coming in via email. And then we had the call, and the call generated 2 figures in income. I'm not going to give the specifics, but it was an awful lot of money that came in just from one call, and the client couldn't believe it. And it was a smash success. So I kept approaching people who had lists with Ask campaigns. Most recently, Stephen Pierce and I did one. We made a lot of money on the front end. We do the Ask campaign, and here's the way it works. Again, we send the question out. What's your single most important question you have about generating targeted traffic at no cost? That's at AskStephenPierce.com. All right, that's what he's known for. Everyone on the call should own the-whole, that's W-H-O-L-E -truth.com, thewholetruth.com. Stephen just had a meteoric rise in the internet marketing world with that ebook. And that's what he's known for, creating targeted traffic at no cost. Many of them overlooked. So we asked the question, what's your single most important question? He got about 500 questions back. From those 500 questions, we picked 20, I think for him we picked 21 questions. I forget how many we picked. Yeah, I think 21. And so guess what? People come to the call because we send them another email, a second email about 3 to 4 weeks later, and say, hey, do you remember that email we sent just about 3-4 weeks ago? And it said, what was the most important question about blank? Okay, just fill in your topic. Anyone who's listening, whatever you're best at, whatever you do, if it's JV marketing, if it's carving wooden bears, if it's financial services, if it's teaching people how to win in a sluggish economy, if it's free publicity like Paul Hartunian, AskPaulHartunian.com, if it's creating, let's see, Armand, how about creating software products from scratch? Okay, or creating new products from scratch. If it's building an online list, okay, whatever the topic is, just fill it in. What's your most important question about blank? Many of your own list members have...
You have just listened to a portion of this big seminar interview. To get the complete version, simply go to www.seminarsecrets.com. Find out how you can attend the next Internet Marketing Big Seminar. And for a very special offer you can't refuse, visit www.seminarsecrets.com.